We're also going live on Facebook. So welcome everyone.
Welcome. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, if I can tap a moment. There we go.
Thank you so much for having us. Good evening.
Of course, yes. Our three candidates are checked in. We see Nancy is here and Rebecca and Derek. Welcome. So I'm going to, again, try to mute everyone except for the people who need to be speaking. We're still bringing folks in. And I'm being assisted in monitoring, admitting folks and monitoring the program tonight by Tammy Willis of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce as well. All right, so Shonda, take it away.
Thank you, Pamela. And good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody's faces. This is pretty exciting. As Pam said, I'm Shonda Scott, and I am an Oakland native and a local business owner. My company is 360 Total Concept. We're a management consulting firm doing program management, monitoring compliance, and also community relations and media productions. I'm here in the capacity of the chairwoman of the board of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce and your moderator for tonight's forum. The format for tonight is each candidate is in alpha order in the way they would speak, and that's based on your first name. You will have 2 minutes of introduction, followed by questions that were provided by the forum's host. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer each question, and after the questions, the candidates will have 1 minute for closing. After the questions are all answered, if there's clarification needed, then our closer, Kitty Epstein, will be asking additional questions for clarification. This is the first time I've done this virtually, so it'll be a new adventure and very interesting. So first up in the at-large candidates are the first series, the group that will be speaking, the candidates speaking today, and it is, like I said, the order is they alphabetize it by your first name. So it's Derek Johnson, Nancy Side Botham. I hope I said your name right, Nancy.
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Rebecca Kaplan. And the first question is, if you were on City Council today, what would be your position on the sale of the Coliseum to billionaire John Fisher?
That's on me, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, well, first of all, thank you, and thanks everybody and the fellow candidates. Hello, Nancy and Rebecca. If I was on council today, my position would be that, the Alameda County has already sold their portion. If Oakland's gonna sell their half, that he would have to mandatory build some affordable housing. My position is to leave the stadiums. I like what the Oakland African American Sports and Entertainment Group's vision is, to let's attract some sports teams. We have a soccer team. Let's get a hockey team back. We used to have the Oakland Seals, and let's build and make Hagenberger, up and down Hagenberger Hotel Row. Let's develop our city and let's close the gap between Hagenberger, Coliseum, and the airport. I am a strong proponent of let's add instead of subtract. It seems like in Oakland we have an add and a subtraction. I want to add to our city and build on it. And I think that that would be a great way to keep the energy level in East Oakland, bring some affordable housing to East Oakland, not only housing for rental, but some housing that people can purchase. When we talk about affordable housing, we always talk about rental properties, but we need to build some affordable housing where every income level can get into the housing market, especially the African American community, which I'm a part of. I mean, I'm born and raised in Oakland. My first job was at the Coliseum. I was a red coat usher. I'd sneak and go to work before I went to school, which my mother used to go crazy over. But, I have very passionate sentiments and memories of, days of the Coliseum. So, my vote would be to build a development that was inclusive, maybe modernize the facilities we already have. But Oakland is a dynamic city, and we can have stadiums all over the city. It just makes us more attractive worldwide to larger sporting events whenever we get back there.
All right, thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yes, Shonda.
Nancy, is the same question? I think she's on mute.
Yes, need to unmute her. Apologize. Okay, Nancy, you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay. We're all doing this. I don't know how many times we get on it. Something always makes you learn something new. Okay, regarding the Coliseum and the sale of the property, the problem I have with it is that we are selling to someone that's already very rich. And we are taking public land and giving it away. The Coliseum should stay where it is. The A's should stay at the Coliseum where it is. And that we need to develop that land also for jobs for the people in Oakland. We have new people coming in all the time, but yet we have no jobs and we have no retail in the city of Oakland that serves the community as a whole. We're very selective on what we do in Oakland because Oakland over the years has lost its economic development portion, and we need to bring that back. Having gone down to UPS and seeing that Horizon has built a humongous warehouse for their trucks and their activity, as is Benjamin Moore, we need to look at this area as a place to bring be a business park, as well as having the A's build and rebuild the Coliseum and the arena there. This is something that is going to bring jobs to the city of Oakland. We are starving for sales tax. We are starving for the income that every other city around us has, while Oakland continues to get dumped on. So I'm very much for keeping the Coliseum and the A's there at that location and not going outside down to Howard Terminal, which is going to affect the port, which is what the third or fourth largest port in the West Coast, and we need to protect that. And that's a big moneymaker for the city of Oakland. Thank you.
Okay. Rebecca?
Good evening. Thank you so much. And thank you for having this forum and this opportunity for us to communicate. Yes, the Coliseum is an incredibly important asset to the community, or rather it would be if it was actually used in that way. Right now, it's empty space that is not generating jobs or revenue, and it is on BART. It is hundreds of acres. It has connections to the airport, to Amtrak Capital Corridor, and we need jobs in the community and support for local business. What that means is that we should develop the Coliseum into a mixed-use facility with housing, with jobs. We should have a municipal service center there. We should work with the county to build their new courthouse there, so people who live in Oakland don't have to schlep to someplace they can't get to when they have a legal matter. We should put the new police administration building down there, which doesn't need to be on Broadway. We should have a WNBA team. We have a ready-built basketball arena. The strongest fan base for women's basketball is in the Bay Area, and we have no team. Closest is the LA Sparks. We should be having soccer. We should be rebuilding there in a way that includes local hire and local business utilization need to be components of it so that East Oakland benefits from what is built there and isn't left out. The City Council in 2015 approved the EIR for Coliseum. So there is already some of the steps that have been taken that would allow that site to be a great development. And as co-author of Alameda County Measure BB, which funds transportation infrastructure, I successfully won over $40 million for the Coliseum BART station area to be revitalized. So this is at the heart of our community and should be built in a way that directly benefits both our local businesses, local jobs, and revenue back into the community.
Okay. My apologies. I actually started asking the questions and you all. Oh.
That was me. I apologize.
Yeah. You all were able to give a 2-minute introduction before we got right into the question. So, do you want me to go through all the questions now, committee, or should I give the time now for them to do their 2-minute intros?
I think you should give the time for their intros. We apologize.
Apologize for that. So at least you're warmed up and ready to go. So so we'll go back to Derek for your 2-minute intro, and then we'll have everyone's 2-minute intro, and then I'll go back to the questions.
And then we have a follow-up on the first question before you go on to the second one.
Okay, so you're gonna. Okay, so we'll do the intros and then the follow-up on the first question. Derek?
Okay. Okay. All right. I was just, making sure. So, okay.
Oh, I
well,
know. Virtual thing is like
I thought we
delayed.
were doing intros, and then you came with a question. That's why I was like,
I just came right with it. Let's just get into it.
it's all good. So anyway, hello, I'm Derek Johnson. I am running for city council at large. Born and raised here in Oakland, from West Oakland, raised in the Acorn Projects by a single mother. I'm a third generation Oaklander. My grandparents went to high school here. My mother, my uncles, all my cousins. My mom worked 3 jobs. She was a state employee with the state of California. She worked at Union Bank right there on Hagenberger, which used to be there, which was taken down. And she was everybody's favorite Avon lady. So whether you liked Avon or not, I'm quite sure if you knew my mother, you bought some. She worked very hard to put me in Bishop O'Dowd High School, where I graduated and went on to Fisk University, a HBCU in Nashville, Tennessee. I left Nashville and came back home to the city I love, Oakland, and started my first business after working for a small children's shoe company. I realized that, entrepreneurship was the way for me. I started my first business, auto detailing company, out of the trunk of my car, literally just, getting customers from BART station and walking up to them on the street. And that landed me in Oakland eventually, where I was introduced to the formerly incarcerated population, where I continue to hire them. It wasn't my plan. I was hired, I got into the formerly incarcerated by just being overwhelmed at work at the detail shop one day. And one of the guys was like, we can call the house and get some brothers down here. I said, oh my God, please call the house. I need the brothers now. I didn't know the house was a halfway house. And that's how I established my relationship with Kevin Grant, who we have a great relationship today. And I still employ that population as we speak at the restaurant. I am the founder of the Home of Chicken and Waffles down in Jack London Square, where I've created hundreds of jobs for those that are from East Oakland, West Oakland, all parts of Oakland, and those that are formerly incarcerated. And the biggest joy for me is watching these men and women that I've employed turn their lives around, transition into just being productive citizens in our society. That has just, warmed my heart. I'm running for this seat because I feel that we need true leadership. We need a business mind in this seat. We need someone that's going to leave their personal bias at the door. Homeless and affordable housing are big issues for me. I remember Oakland where there were no homeless encampments, where there was a thriving retail business, downtown. I remember going to Capwell's and Montgomery Ward's out in East Oakland. I remember Doggy Diner. I remember roller skating, getting in trouble, catching 83 out to, Mojo skating ring when I was supposed to be down the street at my aunt's or something. I'm out there roller skating, having a good time. So I want those times back in our city. And though we've strived and we've done well in certain areas, the displacement of the African-American community is upsetting to me. I'm African-American, I'm an African-American gay male, and I really want to make sure that the generations behind me in our community have a city that they can thrive in, can afford to live in and buy homes in. My goal, Jerry Brown, wanted 10,000 new houses. I want 10,000 new jobs. If you employ people in our city, if we get them jobs, that'll reduce the crime, that'll make our city wealthier, healthier, and make our citizens happy. I'm Derek Johnson. I want to be your next city council person. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy, you have to unmute. Oh, I think you have to unmute her, Pam. Nancy's on mute still.
Now am I unmuted? Hello.
Yes, you are.
Okay,
You're unmuted
perfect.
now.
All right. My name is Nancy Sidebotham. I'm running for the at-large position. I've run before. I'm very proud to be a longtime resident of Oakland. I came here at the age of 19 in 1964, lived around Lake Merritt, and got involved way back when with the animal shelter and issues with drugs and what was going on in the neighborhood down there on Shafter Avenue near Lakeshore, and moved around the city, finally ended up here in East Oakland on Hillmont Drive in 1980, and have fought for my community, been there for my neighbors, been there for others throughout the city, and fought to try to bring business to Oakland. Saw over the years how businesses have left Oakland, and there's been no one really fighting to bring businesses to Oakland. We lost that after we lost Henry Gardner, and Oakland started going downhill. Yes, we have a lot of small businesses in Oakland, but we need a sales tax base, which is what Oakland is lacking. And that's one of the things that I've been fighting for over the years. Also, the safety of the community, and the fact that we're losing so many long-time neighbors and friends that have been here because of the way the laws have been passed in Oakland and the ordinances that have hurt many homeowners and many people, forcing them out of the city without any recourse to be able to fight back. We need to change that. The other thing we need to look at is losing city staff. We have got a serious problem in Oakland where we have no place to turn to get help because our staffing in the city of Oakland has dwindled to a minus figure in a sense because we have let the city get out of control without our being on top of it. And that's what I am fighting for, to bring back, that we bring Oakland back to us. Oakland has been a city run by a few white men, and we need to change that. But we don't seem to come together. We have very few people that vote in this town, and that needs to change. And I'm hoping this year will be the year that people are angry enough and really want to bring change to Oakland and bring Oakland back to us and rebuild it for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you again for the time. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I currently serve as your council member at large. And in January of 2019, I was unanimously elected by my colleagues to serve as council president. In terms of my life history prior to that, I grew up attending full-time Orthodox Hebrew Bible school, and my first job ever was as a Bible teacher, which I also do on occasion on the side. I attended my undergraduate at MIT and attended Stanford for law school. One of my professors was Michelle Alexander, author of The New Jim Crow, and I ended up deciding to work at an organization called Prisoner Legal Services, working to protect the rights of those who were incarcerated. After that, I became a housing rights lawyer in Oakland, working for people who were facing housing discrimination. Subsequently, I was elected to the board of AC Transit, where I worked to extend all-night bus service and connect our region, increase local hiring and service throughout our community through AC Transit. And since that time, in November 2008, I was elected to the Oakland City Council. Some of the specific things that we've worked on include the Healthy Corner Store program, which pays to help convert stores that have been primarily stocking alcohol or other things to provide healthy food and produce. We have successfully fought to implement the disparity study in Oakland to analyze the city's contracting and discover that the administration was overwhelmingly giving contracts to white male-owned firms and to adopt policies requiring that that be fixed. We have worked together successfully to win funding for the ethnic chambers in this COVID response environment and to help our local small businesses. And also on your November ballot, you will see two ballot measures that we worked on. One is for the Police Commission to ensure independence and effectiveness of independent oversight for police misconduct cases, and a ballot measure authorizing youth age 16 and 17 to vote in school board elections. Letting our young people vote in school board elections will help build our democracy and give them a voice in important decisions for their future. I'm honored to have the time with you. I would love to have your vote for myself and also for these important ballot measures. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Excuse me, there's a timekeeper, but I don't know if you all can see her in your view. So Andrea, can you wave your hand so people they can say if they can see? Can the candidates see Andrea?
The timekeeper is Tammy Willis.
Okay, I just got a note that it was Andrea. So do you see, I don't see Tammy or Andrea, so I'm not sure if anyone would be able to see on time. So if you send me the time in the chat box, I'll acknowledge it once I receive it.
Okay.
Tammy,
We want to do it that way.
Yes,
I
I'm thinking
think they can see,
yes.
because I can't see you all.
Okay, I'll send you when the time's up.
Okay, just send me a chat time. If I get the
Okay.
chat time, I'll be abrupt, but I'll try to get it when you say a breath. So I will say time, just so you know that if you're in the middle of speaking, that's it. Because we have a lot of questions and a lot of candidates. Thank you for that. So now, Kitty, you said there was a follow-up question to number 1 that you wanted to ask before I go to number 2.
right. So the follow-up is specifically on the question of the sale of the Coliseum property. will you work with the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club to prevent the sale of this largest piece of taxpayer-owned property while you are a candidate? Will you work with the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club to prevent the sale of this largest piece of taxpayer-owned property while you are a candidate?
Okay. Derek, you're in order. You're first for that response. And Derek's on mute, Pam, if you need to unmute him.
To work on that. Sorry. I gotta figure out how to get there. Okay, let's go there. All right, sorry about that. Derek, you're unmuted.
He's still on mute. He's still muted. He's still on mute.
I have
Let me see if I can
muted
get
him.
it. No, I can't. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he's still mute. I've unmuted him. Let's go to
Derek, if you can unmute yourself.
Let's see.
There
Okay,
you go.
does that work?
Thank you. Yes.
yes.
Okay. So I would work with the Democratic Party. I would do some research. I need to do a lot more research on the particulars. I know that the Alameda County has already sold, their portion of the land. And so, I'm supportive of building the area. I'm supportive of developing the area. And if this is the person that's purchasing the land, and if that's already in works, I would have to support and just make sure that we get some community-based agreements, some CBAs that really benefit the citizens of East Oakland District 7. At the end of the day, we need development there. That property's been sitting there for 50 years and no one's done anything about it. We've had the Raiders, we've had the Warriors, we've had the A's. Everybody's been there, yet there's been no development. And so that's my biggest concern. Why hasn't there been development there already? We need to have a thriving economic system in that area. We need jobs. People in East Oakland are hurting. I just gave away 5,000 boxes of food on Saturday across the street from Castlemont High School. Those boxes went so fast. So that's letting you know that people are really starving for not only for the necessities for life, but they're starving for employment. And with this COVID situation, we're all hurting.
Thank you. It's supposed to be a 1-minute question, Shauna, a 1-minute answer. So I don't know how that was.
Well, I can I'll put my phone on a timer. I'm gonna help you out.
There was no time on that part of it that we were given. So are you saying all the questions are 1 minute and one?
No, the follow-up question is 1 minute. We
Okay.
separated it, right? So when Kitty asks a question, it's 1 minute.
Right.
Okay.
I thought that, yeah. So now we know. Now we all know.
Let's go.
Now we all know any follow-up question from the original question that I have, there will be a 1 minute time frame on those follow-up questions.
Okay,
Hey,
Nancy.
Oh, do you have, are you?
No, I was just going to ask her if she needed the question repeated.
Okay.
No, I do not, Kitty. The answer is yes, I will definitely work with you. During the campaign, after the campaign, whatever happens, I believe that the Coliseum needs to stay whole, needs to stay in East Oakland. I think the A's need to stay in East Oakland. And we need to bring jobs and businesses to Oakland. And I think that area, it hasn't been developed because we've not had the know-how and the knowledge at the leadership level of Oakland to be able to make it happen.
Thank you.
East Oakland has been a long time, and we need to change that. Thank you.
Do you need the question repeated, Rebecca?
No, I'm good. Thank you. No, thank you for the question. And yes, I absolutely will work with the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club and specifically with East Oakland stakeholders on the future of the Coliseum. One of the things that I think was so distressing to people, including particularly people in East Oakland, from the original proposal that was publicly released by the A's last year, is that the proposal said that they would not build at the Coliseum, that they would buy it and leave it empty and create no jobs and no economic opportunity. And that is absolutely unacceptable. Oakland does not need to think so poorly of ourselves that we would put up with that public land going for something that would not benefit the community. I do want to say, though, in my commitment to working with you on what it needs to be there, what it needs to include, I'm not saying that at the end of that process, we might not decide that that package might include a sale, but it would be one with conditions, with plans, with affordable housing, with hiring, with business. So the proposal that was put out last year, absolutely unacceptable. And I would thoroughly commit to continuing to work with you on what it should be.
Okay, that's the time. Question number 2. What is your plan for housing at the Coliseum site? And will you support a plan for affordable housing in East Oakland that provides for extremely low income families to be able to stay or return to Oakland? Derek?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I support affordable housing at Oakland, and whatever deal is cut there should, like I said previously, should allow for affordable housing at all income levels, and especially for purchase. Like I said, we keep talking about affordable housing as far as on the rental side, but what are we doing as far as helping, African American community, especially, which is the Latino community, which is, the largest populations in D7. What are we doing to get those individuals and those families into the housing market and owning housing and, creating their own wealth within their family structure? So yes, I supported it. I know the West Oakland project, there's going on. They have 30% affordable housing. There's another project over on East 12th where affordable housing. So I think we should definitely, when you're using public land, we need to make sure that the public can afford to live there.
Okay, thank you. Nancy?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I support affordable housing, but not necessarily at the Coliseum as a whole, because I think that that area is prime. We're the only city in the Bay Area that does not have a business park and a place. And West Oakland used to be our business center, our business park area, and we built housing there galore. And they've slowly been pushing businesses out of West Oakland. And the truckers have had problems due to the air quality and stuff that people have been complaining about. We need to have a place, a location for the businesses that are supporting the port, that are bringing the dollars into Oakland to go. And the fact that we have 880, the airport, San Leandro Boulevard, the railroad, BART, and the location from Hagenberger all the way to High Street, that needs to seriously be looked at as a major draw to bring businesses where people can get jobs and the truckers can drop off their materials so they aren't continuing to infiltrate West Oakland with the air quality problems that they're having. So affordable housing is important, but we also need jobs. We can't continue to bring people into the city and have no services for them. That's our problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Yes, thank you. I absolutely, fully, and actively am supporting including affordable housing both at the Coliseum site and at other parcels in the city of Oakland. In fact, one of the things we successfully passed in recent months at council is we brought forward a list of publicly owned lands to vote to put them out to bid specifically to affordable housing developers to provide affordable housing. And that includes the Barcelona parcel next to Oak Knoll. As well as several other parcels throughout the city of Oakland that will be sent to affordable housing developers to ask them to put in proposals. So that's one specific example. At the Coliseum, I agree with Nancy Seibotham in half that it should absolutely include a significant business component. And I would say that parcel is really large. It's right on BART. It has a lot of access. There absolutely can and should be housing there as well, including affordable housing. And one of the steps that I took in prior years to help that happen is we adopted an EIR, environmental impact report for the Coliseum area, which approves including housing as well as business. So that has been pre-cleared through the environmental clearance process, which otherwise tends to hold up projects. So we have the ability to do that there and need to do that there as well as at other parcels as well. So that's part of why putting out to bid to affordable housers the additional public parcels.
So I've received several requests. I don't know if this is the committee or who's sending them, but they're in the chat that asked that we switch the orders of the questions and not have the same order each time. Is that something the committee is fine with? I don't know who the requests are coming from.
The committee is not able to have a meeting on that right now, so I would urge you to follow the order of how it's already been determined. Thank you.
Okay, I didn't know if they were committee people sending that to me. All right, so then we have question number 3. Where do you stand on the city's agreement with the A's access to the Coliseum property, on the A's staying in East Oakland and building their new stadium at the Coliseum? I just read it verbatim.
So the A's staying at the Coliseum and building?
Where do you stand on the city's agreement with the A's access to the Coliseum property,
Got you.
on the A's staying in East Oakland and building their new stadium at the Coliseum?
Okay, well, once again, I'm a firm believer. I don't want to see the A's leave Oakland. We've lost 2 professional teams, and we just don't need to lose another one. I mean, sports and sports teams and sports franchises bring worldwide recognition to a city like ours. It also boosts our economy. I'm a small business owner. I know my sales have dropped drastically with the Warriors not being here. So I would fight tooth and nail just to keep the A's in Oakland, period. Back to my original argument, I don't understand why there has to be an either or situation. Why do we think so small? Why don't we thinking bigger? I mean, let's hold the A's accountable if we're going to sell it to them, which, by the way, I don't know why the Coliseum wasn't put out to bid if we were going to sell the property, and why did A's get an exclusive? Those are some questions that, I can't answer because I'm not a part of that process. But, it seems like the value of the land should be, assessed. And, if we're going to sell it, we need to sell it at a really nice market rate where the city's going to benefit drastically from that. But my position is I want to keep the A's in Oakland, period.
I was placed on mute.
My turn?
Nancy? Yeah, I
My
know.
turn?
Yes,
Can you
yes.
hear- Okay, yes, I'm for keeping the A's, the Coliseum, and having them rebuild it and modernize it. Oakland's problem, the reason it kept falling apart was because when they built the sewer system for the arena and the Coliseum, they never bothered to take into consideration the corrosion that would happen to the piping, seeing as the water table is like 10 feet down underneath the Coliseum. And that's a serious problem that needs to be addressed, and it's an overhaul that needs to be done. So yes, I'm completely behind the A's staying at the Coliseum. And like Derek said, it should have gone out for bid. It should have sold for a lot more money than what they paid the county. And we seriously need to look at, if the A's are going to buy into this, that they pay the money that it's worth, considering how much money has been owed to the city of Oakland by the other teams that have left. Thank you.
Okay, Rebecca?
Yes, I agree that the Coliseum is the right place for the A's to rebuild. And that's for a lot of different reasons. First of all, obviously, that would be better for the community in East Oakland in terms of access to jobs, in terms of access for local business. But it also would be better for the team and the region. We have a site here at the Coliseum that already has a BART station, and the region invested billions in putting BART there for that purpose. We have a connection to the airport. We have Amtrak Capital Corridor, and we have a huge amount of acreage that is easily accessible from the freeway. So it is the better place to put the new baseball stadium, both for the surrounding community as well as for the success of the stadium. It's a super easy location to get to, and there's enough room there to also have shops and restaurants as well as surrounding housing that would then further support the success of the facility. One last thing I'll throw out that I'd love to have us work together on is, in the meantime, in this pandemic, We need to open the Coliseum parking lot for drive-in events. It's the one thing Alameda County Public Health allows. We could have drive-in movies, drive-in concerts, drive-in church in the Coliseum parking lot, and that would allow us to have jobs, business revenue, and some upliftment there during these times.
Thank you, everybody. I'm taking a point of privilege, and we're reversing the next set of questions to the reverse order. So I've gotten agreement from committee members that that's fair and fine, and that's consistent with other panels,
Yes.
forums. So Rebecca, it's you again now. So are you aware that there is a group of Black businessmen working to invest in bringing a Black-owned NFL team to Oakland? Would you be willing to work with Oakland East Bay Democratic Club to bring a Black-owned NFL team to Oakland? Will you, if you are elected to City Council, be willing to lease the Coliseum property to a Black-owned NFL team at a reasonable value?
Thank you very much. Yes, I am absolutely aware of this effort, and I've had extensive dialogue with some of the people involved. I think it's wonderful that they're working on it, and I am absolutely prepared to help, to continue the dialogue, to work out a potential deal for the site. And I've continued to stay in touch with the group as they're putting that together. And I would also mention that in our conversations, we also talked about the possibility of a WNBA team, which could go in the arena, which is of course already sitting there. And that is potentially in the works as well. So we don't yet, of course, have an actual proposal that I could commit to particular deal terms, but I'm absolutely prepared to commit to continue that dialogue and to work with them to see how to bring that forward in the best way possible.
Okay. Derek?
Okay. Yes, the Oakland African American Sports and Entertainment Group. Ray Bobbitt is a very close friend of mine. He started working on that actually 10 years ago. And I've been in talks with him, and I was in the original talks with him. I've been in the middle talks with him, and I continue to talk to him. So I know Ray very well. Robert Smith, I think the business, another business person, is really actively going after NFL team. But, you know, like I said, we used to have the Oakland Seals. Let's go after a hockey team. Let's put our soccer team back there. The WNBA team Rebecca is speaking about, which I actually brought to her maybe 10 years ago. We wanted to bring the Bay Area Wings. We had discussions with the WNBA. It didn't pan out, and then Dallas named their team the Dallas Wings. But I think all of those ideas are great. We need sports teams. I'm a very big advocate. I mean, my heart was broke when the Raiders left. And the Raiders, the Black Panthers and the Raiders are pretty much what put Oakland on the map. And to let a staple like that leave our city is just is unacceptable, and we can't allow that to happen anymore.
Okay. Nancy?
The answer is yes. I think that anybody that is willing to come and be part of our city and build our city into making us a city that could be seen throughout the country and the world, I think that we deserve that. And I think that it's part of the issue that we need to be part of. And yes, that was something that I would work for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All righty, next question. Are you aware that the A's bring in only $3 million of revenue to Oakland? Based on their track record of community investment, do you believe that the A's will bring in more income to the city? And if so, what is this based on? What is your belief based on if you think that that will happen?
Shonda, let me jump in here, do it our time. That's going to be our last question for tonight, and then we'll need to move to the closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Nancy, you never got a chance to go first, so you can go first with that.
Can you
About to say,
cut
where
out?
are we going?
I know all this is going on.
There you go. Can you repeat the question?
question?
Because
Okay.
it cut out on me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Are you aware that the A's only bring in only $3 million of revenue to Oakland? Based on their track record of community investment, do you believe that the A's will bring in more income to the city? And if so, what do you base that belief on?
The answer is No. And the reason being is they only play a few games a year. And we need something that's going to be ongoing. And that's why I think that opening up to other teams and other sports arena menus, I think is desperately needed. That's what kept Oakland going with the Warriors and the Raiders. And the A's alone is not enough to hold Oakland, not the sports teams together and hold that location together without the help that it needs. Thank you.
Great. Rebecca?
Thank you. Whether or not they bring in more revenue depends on what we do with it. For example, if they were to build a new ballpark at the Coliseum site, together with shops and restaurants and hotels and housing and office, then it could be plausible that the revenue would go up because you'd get these synergies where people who live in the house would patronize the restaurants and people who work in the office would go to a game after work. So it's not impossible that a new development could bring in more revenue, but it's not going to happen by itself. It depends what we do. And the Coliseum site has more acreage and has BART access. And so it makes it more plausible that that kind of outcome could be achieved there.
Okay. Derek?
I wasn't really aware that that the A's only brought in $3 million, and that's way behind. I mean, most professional teams bring in, quadruple that amount of money to their city. So we need to look at, why is that, and work with Taj. Taj, who is the community relation person for the A's, is from Oakland, and I've had several talks with Taj. We meet, we talk, and his whole idea is to enhance and to make sure that the A's are an integral part in their tagline being rooted in Oakland, making sure that they are rooted in Oakland and that they are doing some great benefits for the city of Oakland. I can speak from a business perspective that having the A's who play several games, 82 to be exact, I believe somewhere between 82 to 88 games, home games a year, which is a considerable amount of games. They bring a lot of revenue just to the economy for the city. Small businesses like mine depend on the A's. They depended on the Warriors. They depended on the Raiders. That revenue that would come into our community is needed, and I miss it drastically, especially during this COVID time.
Okay, great. So to wrap up, each candidate has 1 minute to give an overview to close out. And we will start with Rebecca.
Thank you so much for having me. I would be honored to have your vote. I have been endorsed by the Alameda Labor Council, SEIU 10-1, the Honorable Sandre Swanson, Elihu Harris, Ray Bobbitt, in fact, and the Black Women Organized for Political Action PAC, the Sierra Club, our firefighters, nurses, and many others. Together, we have fought to help our corner stores, for funding for our local businesses, to end disparities in city contracting. And we can take further steps to make sure that we are uplifting the community. I would be honored to have your vote, and I want to encourage everybody to vote early. Use a ballot drop box if you need to. We have them in Alameda County, and let's fight back against the attempts to sabotage the Postal Service. Thank you for your time. Good evening.
Thank you. Derek? Oh. I can't hear you either. Okay. Can you hear?
Okay, now I can.
Okay, there you go.
Right. Well, first I want to thank the East Bay Democratic Committee for having me and having this discussion and listening to me. Once again, I'm born and raised in the city. Like you, I'm concerned about what goes on in East Oakland, what goes on with the Coliseum. I will work effortlessly every single day. I'm not immune to hard work. I have run up to 5 restaurants working 15, 16 hours a day. I will put in that kind of work. We'll work with you all to make sure that the community in District 7 gets what they need. Housing, affordable, sports teams, and we have some retail. We have to have retail and businesses. And the key to getting retail and businesses is making sure that we have policies that are business friendly in our city. We lost a Walmart out there. That's ridiculous. That should have never happened. We need to be able to have major chains in the city. We need to be able to have small businesses in the city. We should be open for business. period. And I would make it my #1 goal. As I said, I want to create 10,000 jobs in this city. And the way to do that is by developing the Coliseum that can provide hundreds, if not thousands, of employment for the citizens of East Oakland. Thank you once again for having me. And I look forward to your support and your vote.
Thank you. Nancy?
Yes, thank you very much to the East Oakland Democratic Club and those affiliated with you for this evening's forum. I am thoroughly behind fighting for Oakland. I've been doing it for years. I'm not going to disappear. I believe in Oakland. I believe in the people in Oakland. And one of the things I don't want to continue seeing is people leaving Oakland in droves, which is what they're ready to do. Having gone out and got signatures and stuff and talked to a lot of people, at least 45% of the people that I talk to are looking for going outside of the city of Oakland and finding a new place to live. We don't need that. We need to continue fighting for our city and bringing back people so that they continue that know Oakland and care about Oakland. As to the Coliseum and stuff, this is something that is dear to my heart. We need to keep Coliseum in East Oakland. We need to keep the A's in Oakland, but we need to build Oakland up. And East Oakland's been a forgotten area of the city. It's been a dumping ground, and we need to change that. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this evening's forum.
And thank you, all of you. Thank you for participating in today's forum. And thank you for your work in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pam, do you want to guide us on what's next?
Sure. Let me say I did not state at the outset that the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club has passed a resolution where we oppose the sale by the city of Oakland of its interest in the Coliseum except through a process of competitive bidding and after a thorough assessment of the economic, cultural, and equity impact of a sale of the Coliseum property upon the East Oakland community. And we also have resolved that the process needs to be transparent to the community and involve representatives from community organizations in East Oakland. And furthermore, we are strongly in support of bringing a Black NFL team to the Oakland Coliseum and taking whatever steps need to be taken to protect that opportunity for Oakland. So tonight we are honored to have all of the candidates for District 7 and at large participating. And I'm going to turn it back over to Shonda. I believe all of the candidates are here for District 7, and they include Aaron Clay, Robert Jackson, Esmeralda Cortez, Marshawn Tatman, Marcy Hodge, and Treva Reed. So welcome to all of our candidates and welcome to all of our participants who are following us at this time. This program is being recorded and will be made available on our website as well as our Facebook page after the event concludes. So welcome to everyone. And in case you missed the introduction, our moderator tonight is Ms. Shonda Scott, who is the founder and president of 360 Total Concept, an Oakland-based company. She's also a member of the Alameda County Women's Hall of Fame and was part of President Obama's Platform Committee in 2012. She is the producer and co-host of a podcast, What Sibling Rivalry, with her brother, and she's a fourth generation Oakland resident, and we are honored to have her tonight guiding us through this forum. So Shonda, I'm giving it back to you. And the picture that you all see tonight is that of our president of the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club, whom we are very proud of, and that is Howard Eggerman.
Great. Thank you, Pam. Once again, I am Shonda Scott. I'm a fourth generation business owner and a second generation business owner in Oakland. And we have 3 generations here in Oakland in business now with my son, now doing his real estate and other great ventures. So I'm happy to be here. I am the chair of the African American Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And as Pam said, I am your moderator for tonight's forum. Just a few housekeeping things. The forum tonight, the format is each candidate in alpha order will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. Will be followed by questions that were provided by the host organization, and each candidate will have an opportunity to answer each of the questions. After the questions, the candidates will have 1 minute to close. We're change it up a bit. The first introductions will be in alpha order, and the order they put you under is by your first name and as alpha. Then I'll ask the questions. It will be that same order for the first question, and the second question we'll rotate. So the person who did the first question on the first question will now be the second question, and I'll give you the names in the order. It'll just be more for me, but it'll at least give everybody an opportunity to rotate around to answer the question, so the same order is not going through. Since we have so many candidates, it's a little trickier with the District 7. So first is Aaron Clay for your introduction. Then it'll be followed by Bob Jackson, Esmeralda Coates, did I say your name right? Or Cortez, sorry. Marshawn Tatum, Marcy Hodge, and Treva Reed. So first, we will hear from Aaron Clay with your 2-minute introduction.
So thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I want to thank the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club for allowing me this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Aaron Clay, and I'm running for Oakland City Council for District 7. So Councilman Reed is retiring after 24 years, and I started to think, who am I going to support, and what do I want to see in the new council person? And what I found was important to me was I wanted someone with vision, with experience, and with courage. The vision to be able to develop affordable housing, create jobs and economic base to strengthen our community. The experience to hit the ground running without having to take 2 years to learn on the job in order to benefit the community. And the courage to be a real advocate for District 7, even if the decision is unpopular elsewhere. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I was looking at myself. This is a crucial election. We need somebody who understands real estate. We need somebody who understands how to develop community projects instead of displacing its community. And we're not in a position where we can elect somebody who has to learn on the job. My entire career has been about developing and providing resources for underserved communities. I was raised and educated in Oakland Public Schools. I graduated from Morehouse College with a degree in political science. I attended Loyola University Law School, where I received my law degree. I practiced real estate law doing community development. I represented churches, nonprofits, small businesses, individuals and families fighting foreclosures against banks. I started free legal clinics for people who cannot afford an attorney, and I represented cities and counties on economic development projects using public-private partnerships and federal tax credit financing. I've received global awards for my work creating community-based business models. And currently I also work in East Oakland, serving our kids as a school teacher for Oakland Public Schools a few times a week, and also as a board member for Youth Uprising right next door, the nonprofit right next door to Castlemont, which serves the youth in the neighborhood. So my vision is I believe we have to redefine how we look at the community. We have to look at it in a different lens. Instead of giving away our community assets, then coming back asking for community benefit pieces, we need to envision a community where we control the development, and the development we create has to be community-centered. The Coliseum is a city-owned asset that should be invested in a manner that reflects the community's priorities and needs. So I would like your support to improve and develop a better East Oakland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bob Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Robert Bob Jackson, better known as Bishop Bob Jackson. I'm running for the office of City Council Member, District 7, because District 7 has been literally ignored by City Hall for a very long time. We pay our taxes, but we're not seeing or experiencing the growth that other districts are experiencing. This has got to change. A little about myself. For over 50 years, I've devoted my life to service. Started in the U.S. Air Force with an honorable discharge, and since 1984 as the founder of the Axel Gospel Church here in Oakland. I have worked to help Oakland residents achieve the American dream by building affordable housing, built 59 units down on 94th and International, and I'm in the process of building 55 more affordable housing units across the street from the 94th project. I have led a job training and life skills training program for over 30 years called the Men of Valor Academy, a program especially designed for the formerly incarcerated. And 18 years ago, I founded the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. I've earned the respect of residents and a reputation for keeping my word and getting things done. During this time of unprecedented healthcare and economic crisis, we in District 7 need a trusted leader with vision and a plan to make our district better. I believe my experience and record of real achievements make me the candidate best suited to meet the challenges we have in District 7. I humbly ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Esmeralda?
Shauna, it does not appear that Esmeralda has checked in at this time. So if we could go
Okay, so
on
just
to
take her-
Marshawn.
Okay, Marshawn?
Marshawn Tatman.
Hello, everyone. Could you guys hear me pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Marshawn Tabman, and I'm running for Oakland City Council District 7. I'm a community leader with over a decade of putting myself on the front line for the betterment of community. I'm an Oakland native whose career is built on mentoring, teaching, financial literacy, housing the unhoused, and feeding those in need by not only on the front line, but also working on the back end, influencing and creating policy with our local, county, state, and federal officials as a government affairs manager who focus on policy and advocacy. I have several degrees, a BA in political science, a master in psychology, public administration, and I'm working on my doctorate in public administration and policy. I serve as a commissioner on the Oakland Budget Commission. I spearheaded the Homeless Housing Resource Center in Alameda and also served as the emergency winter warming shelter manager, combined with an operation budget over $1 million, helping to provide more than 1,000 beds in the winter months. I'm the true definition of public servant, and I'm honored to be able to help the most vulnerable community, a community in which I grew up in and attended all Oakland public schooling, to move past this point. My platform is reforming OPD, eliminating homelessness, eliminating homicide, creating affordable housing, and bringing solid and sound economic development and opportunity to D7. Like the old saying, be the change you seek, that is my motivation. My whole life I've seen the disparities, the inequalities, the inequities, the lack of care for D7, the closing of people of color businesses in deep East Oakland, the loss of hope, the dirty streets, potholes, crime, a lack of focus, innovation, and energy. This is nothing new. You start to ask yourself, is this by design? We must move D7 onward with me, Marshawn Tapman. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Marcy?
Good evening, and thank you so much for this open door and to all of the groups that are here hosting this forum tonight. My name is Marcy Hodge, and I am a lifelong resident of Oakland. My roots in this community run deep, and my commitment to our future is genuine. During my 8-year tenure as Peralta Community College trustee, I fought to eliminate waste and redirect funds to classroom instruction and more student financial aid. I also worked to expand vocational training programs, and I led the fight against international travel scandal at Peralta, where I was censured later. And I also worked to ensure that every dollar was used to improve classroom instruction and more funds redirected for student financial aid. I was also instrumental in the realization and opening of the new Berkeley City College and the expansion of both Alameda and Merritt College. And Merritt College is also my alma mater, where I graduated from as well. So as an Oakland native, I believe in Oakland. I love Oakland, and it's one reason why I never left Oakland. In order for me to be successful, it was right here at home. As councilwoman, I pledge to continue that commitment to Oakland citizens by establishing a vibrant community where families thrive, supporting the growth of local businesses who hire Oakland residents, ensuring affordable housing and access to high quality education. I also want to note that the Association of Bay Area Governments, as well as the state of California in 1969, over 50 years ago, mandated, while the Association Bay Area Governments recommended, the state mandated that all California cities develop affordable housing. Why are we so far behind? We have to ask that question. And so that's a commitment that I want to make. And I also want to eliminate bureaucratic obstacles that prevent our progress towards these goals.
Excuse me, the time.
Thank you again, Marcy Hodge.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Treva Reed. Thank you for having me. I'm an overcomer. I'm an advocate. I'm a community leader, and I'm running to lead transformative and sustained change in East Oakland. I was raised in a family of educators, entrepreneurial civil servants, laborers with a deep respect for hard work. And my passion to serve extended on 12 boards and committees that I serve on right now. And that stemmed from growing up in a large civically engaged family where my great-grandmother's political activism informed our values from the church to the streets. As a young single mother in college, I worked multiple jobs, got off of welfare myself, and I leveraged a lot of strength and resilience from my upbringing and watching the incredible women in my family to provide for my daughter and to graduate from Hampton University. And I bring that same measure of fight to working to ensure that there's equitable investment, economic development, jobs, resources, policies, and practices for us to stay and thrive in Oakland, with the focus on ending gun violence, keeping people permanently housed, building more affordable housing, closing the wealth gap, and increasing career opportunities, especially for East Oaklanders, and improving the economic development and community vitality to ensure that we're at the forefront of long-term economic recovery as we come through COVID. I've overcome a number of great disparities, and in this community, there are a number of great disparities that we face. Across the board, you can see it in poverty, housing, healthcare, and jobs. Many of us feel left out, we feel pushed out. Our friends and family have had to move out, not being able to stay in the community that they were raised in, are loved, and I feel them. We experience the greatest disparities in District 7, too many areas, and COVID-19 has continued to exacerbate those issues that we face, that we've been tackling for years, and we want lasting change. We have to have lasting change. I've lived many of the issues that our residents are faced with. I know the deep trauma of losing a loved one to gun violence. My daughter's brother, Brandon, was murdered at the age of 22, who I loved as a son. I've lived housing instability for years. I've been unemployed for months on Obamacare myself. I struggled to pay rent and provide for my family, and all of that and more motivates me to fight for justice, to challenge inequity, and to influence solutions that will help move East Oakland forward. And I hope that you would join me in doing so.
Thank you. Okay, now we will have the round of questions. Everybody will ask the same question, and there may be follow-up from Kitty Epstein on some of the questions as the closer. If Kitty asks a question for follow-up, you only have 1 minute to answer that follow-up question. The first question is, and Aaron, you will be the first one to answer the question. If you were on City Council today, what would be your position on the sale of the Coliseum to billionaire John Fisher?
So my position is that we should not sell to a billionaire who is obviously not hurting for money, regardless of what he says. Right now, we need the Coliseum land. It's one development tool that does work for developing affordable housing is through land grants and through community land trusts. We need that land. It's city-owned land, and we need to use it in a way that reflects the community's priorities and needs. The last city report said we need 15,000 new units of housing. 5,000 of that, 30% needs to be for low to very low income, and another 3,000 needs to be for affordable to moderate income residents. And so we cannot afford to give away that land to a billionaire who has many homes when we need it right here in East Oakland for our current residents, and not for the future residents, but for the people who need healthy housing right now.
Okay. Robert Jackson.
Thank you. Yes. Well, my answer would be no, that we don't need to sell it, the land to the Fisher family. And one of the reasons for it is the Fisher family seem to be the only ones who's bidding on the property. And for public land, I think that's wrong. We should have more people bidding on that land. And when you look at the kind of price that they're trying to get the land for, 170 million is what it rounds out to be. 85 to county, 85 to the city. And that's only a fraction of what that property is really worth. We're talking about 131 acres out there. And then we're talking about the city owning a lot of acreage around the Coliseum, which can be developed into all kind of things. So I think right now, just to deal with the A's, we're trying to purchase that property for the Fisher family, especially. I think it's going about it the wrong way. I mean, we're not coming out ahead by selling the property to the Fisher family for the A's to do like they want to do. I don't think that's a good idea. And I would be opposed to that sale.
Okay. Marshawn?
The short answer is no. I will not agree to the sale. And I will work with city and the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club to stop the sale of this land. Let's face it, this is $1 million, potentially $1 billion piece of land. We have an international airport, the infrastructure, we have the roads, we have everything right there to turn this area into something special. We all travel. When you travel and leave airports, you see a beautiful city. When you travel to Oakland and leave the airport, you see a city in ruins. That's been this way for years. In my mayor run in 2018, I stated then that I will push for the Hagenberger tourist zone, in which we have developed all of Hagenberger, leading from the airport to the Coliseum. And if we're fortunate enough to still have this site, and if we don't sell it, we'll develop this too, so we can have multi-use, multi-purpose, residential, housing, commercial, entertainment villages. I was speaking to somebody a few weeks ago, and they told me that Oakland had all this. I'm not that old. I remember Camelot in Malibu, but they took it back a little further when they said it was Dan Hoss and skating rinks over there too. We need to bring all this back. This will help with the jobs. This will help keep our youngsters busy and out of trouble. This will give them something to do so they can have something productive being done during the day, so they won't be out there causing the mayhem that we see in these Oakland streets. We're in a shelter in place, but yet Oakland is approaching, if not already is at 50 homicides, with 3 just in one day a few days ago. This is unacceptable. We need to develop this land so it can benefit the community of Oakland, so we can create investment opportunities so people in the community can pool their money together and invest in this land. And when it comes to pushing for a Black-owned NFL football team, I will put on my old football college uniform and cheerlead for this proposal, because I was one step away to be at the NFL level. Thank you.
Thank you.
My answer is no for the sale. While I live in the District 7 area and I have a business in the District 6 area, both districts, District 7 and District 6, resoundingly do not sell this property to the A's, nor do we want to see the A's go over to the Howard Terminal. Although that's questionable if they really want to go there. I think it's fishy with the Fisher family in terms of the sale. I also question why the county is in talks with selling this property for $85 million, when we know that affordable housing is paramount to our communities, the vibrancy of the community of Oakland. Also, I would say that we need to look at the potential to reimagine the ballpark in East Oakland and look at attracting businesses that can support our infrastructure and feed into a much needed tax base. The right plans for the Coliseum would bring the city forward, and we need to look at a long-term plan, and if executed correctly, it can uplift the East Oakland area. East Oakland has long been forgotten about, and we're tired. We don't want to continue on the same track. East Oakland is a jewel to the city of Oakland. We want local businesses in the area. We want to see our community with jobs that are just not, just barely making it. we need jobs that are living wage. Our community is suffering with a disparity of socioeconomic status. Of course, affordable housing is a much needed need, and food disparity here in both districts are, it's astounding. So we definitely need to look at this again. We need to possibly reopen if we can, or sue to stop the sale of this property.
Time.
With the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Treva?
Hi. On principle, with what was asked, no. I do believe that you have to come to the table to understand the full details of what's going on in a deal. And right now, it's not even been opened with the county as they are working through October, the first week in October, to close out their deal with the A's. And so I think it's critical to understand the full deal to make those decisions. But on principle, absolutely not. Whether you're a millionaire or billionaire, I think it's important that we have a focused plan that redevelops a Coliseum specific plan that's already been laid out with community goals aimed to attract, reinvest, and retain businesses and economic development that will provide good living wage career path, especially for East Oaklanders. So whoever it is that is bringing forth any type of proposal, I think there are certainly demands that need to be made. There needs to be transparency in that process, because it's critical that we use public land for public good. And I believe developing an economic development strategy in partnership with community stakeholders is key in any direction that's being considered. I've heard people talk about different things that they'd like to see. I'd love to see mixed use development with all the community benefits that we can imagine, all the living wage, affordable housing, deeply affordable housing, a sports complex, entertainment zone. All of those things need to come to the table with community to be a part of those discussions. I live in an area that some time ago at Durant, it was sold for $95 million. And so when we hear $85 million today, it is hard to believe that that is an equitable and fair market valuation, but yet none of us have seen that valuation. So again, I believe that there needs to be transparency in the process, but on principle, no.
Kitty, any follow-up on that question? Oh, you're on mute. Pam, okay.
Sorry, I think the follow-up has been addressed already, so we don't need to follow up.
Okay.
Right.
Question number 2. What is your plan for housing at the Coliseum site? And will you support a plan for affordable housing in East Oakland that provides for extremely low income and very low income families to be able to stay in or return to Oakland? And this question, Bob Jackson will answer first. And you're on mute.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, I think that there's a considerable amount of land there. I think all total it's probably over 215 acres out there at the Coliseum site. A lot of acreage that we could use to build affordable housing. And there's also projects that's being done right now that we also can add affordable housing to them instead of just building straight market rate housing. We're in the process of working with 12 pastors right now who own their own churches, as far as the churches owning the property. And we're looking at building affordable housing on those church properties. Senator Weiner has now put in a law. He's trying to get a law passed, AB 489, I think, 499. Anyway, to make sure that funding is given to churches in order to build affordable housing, because there's just a lack of affordable housing for these developers and contractors. They don't even want to build them. So it's SB 899. It's what it is, Weiner. It's in the state right now being voted on, and we need that money to build more affordable housing. And for some reason, it seems like people don't want affordable housing. And I'm telling you, I came through the projects in West Oakland, and my dad couldn't afford a house or whatnot. We lived in the projects when he got out of the Navy. Couldn't afford anything else. But then when he got a raise, we moved to Brookfield Village. He paid $7,500 for a house, which was a lot of money then. My first house was bought in Brookfield right around the corner for $11,000. So housing was affordable in those days. But today, affordable housing is something that's very rare. I was talking to somebody about it the other day that was in high office. I said, do you believe in affordable housing? He said, yeah, for people that can afford it. I think that's very sad that we have people who think like that. We need to build affordable housing in the heartland of Oakland so everybody would have an opportunity to own a home. I think that's part of the American dream.
Okay, Marshawn?
Yes, we definitely need to build housing, affordable housing at this site. There's so much land there. Why not build affordable housing when we're in a dire need for it? Let's be honest, and let me be honest with you guys. I housed the homeless for over 3 years, and I housed nearly 200 families. The situations that I came across when housing people were sad because not only were they suffering from housing insecurity, they were also suffering from livable wage insecurity, not making enough money to pay for housing. We provided a rental subsidy for them with rapid rehousing. We definitely need to build to the model of moving towards affordable housing and switch from the model of at market housing, at least until we get this crisis under control. Now, I sit on the budget commission, and I know why people don't like to build affordable housing because I see it in the reports. Quite frankly, it don't make the city money. But we need to move past this mindset, this capitalism in which we feel that everything needs to make a profit instead of focusing on the people who need it the most. We need affordable housing in East Oakland, in D7. I'm for dense housing as well, but we need to make sure it remain affordable. We need to make sure we house the 4,000 homeless. I was out there at 5 in the morning doing the homeless count. So I seen it for myself, the need that we need to start moving towards this model and move away from worrying about profit. We need to look at profit in other areas so we can generate different streams of income. We need to diversify, and what's not being done right now, and as you guys seeing right now, with the crashing of the housing market during this pandemic, it'll have a dramatic effect on the overall budget and put us in a hole if we don't start to diversify our money. So yes, let's build more affordable housing. Let's build it in East Oakland, and let's build deep affordable housing and have a path for home ownership, which, like Pastor Jackson said, that is the American dream. So we need to keep that dream alive and make sure that people have this ability to buy a home instead of just renting a home, and use that market to help people out and get them to the next step in life so they can buy a home. And that's what it's all about. Thank you.
Marcy?
I would definitely support affordable housing for low income, low income, and low income use. I would also want to look at the land in terms of joint use project, because many times we offer affordable housing, but people who live in the units are not close to grocery stores and to local areas that, you know, would meet their needs in terms of just living a very comfortable life. So we have to also take in those considerations. So yes, absolutely, affordable housing is absolutely important. As a business owner, I was saying that it's important as a business owner for me to be aware of this, and I'm very aware of it when, as a nonprofit director for a residential program for developmental disabled children, many of my employees spend more than 40% of their income on rent, and that is just putting them at a squeeze. So we have to look at the socioeconomic disparities, again, housing disparities and food disparities. I would also, I believe that Oakland is going to be and play a vital role in affordable housing. We need leaders who care, leaders who are not going to be funded by big developers for, you know, their quick buck to get in and out of Oakland. That has to stop. And hopefully this pandemic is causing people to really look at who they're supporting this election year, because we're at a turning point where things are drastically changing from the way that we knew it pre-COVID 2019, when we started with our sheltering in. Careful planning with the community and voicing their concerns and echoing their desires for that land is also important. This is a paramount piece of land in District 7. And we've got to consider those residents who will be most impacted by it. And so development for affordable housing, mixed use, is also important. The city cannot make ethical decisions on public land without the public voice. So again, we've got to hear what are the concerns of those who live in the area. Again, I have a business that is on the 66th Avenue area, and I have a second business that will be opening in the area of 102nd. I want to be able to employ people who live in the city. They want to live here. And again, if things are not affordable, then they have to, come from very far distances just to come to work. And that is unacceptable. People should have a choice. The disparities are too deep and wide here in the city of Oakland.
Thank you. Reva?
Yes, I support affordable housing, deeply affordable housing at the Coliseum. It's a transit-oriented development zone. Cap and trade funds have been released through the state for us to increase those development opportunities. Coliseum Gardens has come up under phase 1, over 100 units, and we're looking to develop Coliseum Gardens phase 2, where more housing can come up. And we know that that's still not enough housing. I serve on the board of Satellite Affordable Housing. I serve on the board for Community Education Partnership, where we work to serve all the students in Oakland Unified School District who are classified as unhoused or highly mobile. I support the Oakland Elizabeth House and Matilda Cleveland House with women and families who are in transition, still seeking permanent housing and waiting on those opportunities and those doors to open up. And so we know that we live in one of the most expensive cities in the state and across the nation. Too many of our families need housing and permanent housing. Too many have been displaced. We've heard the numbers where 70% of those who are unhoused are Black. And the majority of that 70% that are Black men who need a place to stay. And we need to prioritize housing around those who have been disproportionately displaced, unhoused, and seek permanent housing now. I'm an advocate for tax abatements, increased federal and state funding for subsidized low-income housing and affordable housing ownership programs. I built my own first home as a young single mom in her 20s with a tax abated program. It gave me the opportunity to have equity and educational opportunities and to break a measure of the wealth gap that I grew up with in poverty. We need to ensure that bond dollars that have already been committed and voted on are allocated timely. We need to make sure that impact fees that have already been contributed by developers are found. We cannot even find those funds that have been contributed to subsidize affordable housing projects. We need to ensure that those dollars are found and put to use. We need to improve upon policies and zoning that allow us to build deeply affordable. At the Coliseum, the EIR and the zoning has already approved that and made it possible. We've got 300 senior homes coming up down the street from me, and I'm excited to see that. And we need a whole lot more to sustain our families and keep them permanently housed from one generation to the next.
Thank you. Next question. Where do you stand? No, excuse me, I'm gonna go to this question. Are you aware that there is a group of Black businessmen working to invest in bringing a Black-owned NFL team to Oakland? Would you be willing to work with Oakland East Bay Democratic Club to bring a Black-owned NFL team to Oakland? Will you, if you are elected to City Council, be willing to lease the Coliseum property to a Black-owned NFL team at a reasonable value? Marshawn, you're the first one to answer this question.
The answer is yes, yes, and yes. Like I mentioned, I'm an athlete, or should I say former athlete, who played collegiate football for the University of Tulsa, who was one step away from making it to the NFL. So do I believe there should be a Black-owned group that owns a football team? The answer is absolutely yes. I think this will be big for Oakland, big for football, and it'll set examples on how to do it in an all-white league. Let's be honest, the NFL is ran by white men and their families, and they pass them down from generation to generation. When you're talking about breaking the wealth gap, this is where you start to break the wealth gap structurally, methodically, and with a purpose. And that purpose is creating equity in to something that a large percentage of people of color watch, which is sports, which is football. So absolutely, yes, we need to make sure that we support this. We need to make sure we support the group that's doing it and give them all the tools necessary to make sure it happens. Now, one of the things that NFL stated when the Raiders left was they didn't want this new stadium to be dependent on future development. So we need to go ahead and start developing this area so the NFL can re-examine Oakland and see that we already have something that's self-sustainable. And by putting a stadium in place with a new football team in Oakland will only make for their survival, and not just off of us surviving off of them, but them surviving off this area we already established with the Hagenberger Tourist Zone. Yes, this will be a community discussion. But when we talk about investment opportunities and paying dividends back to the community and give them a chance to invest in this land, I'm quite sure that they'd be open ears to that opportunity so they can create wealth themselves. So we need a sports team in Oakland. And like I said, I'll put on my college football uniform and cheer for them if we can get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to put a pin in this question, go back to the affordable housing question for Aaron Clay to answer. What is your plan for the housing at the Coliseum site? And will you support a plan for affordable housing in East Oakland that provides for extremely low income and very low income families to be able to stay in or return to Oakland?
Thank you, Shonda. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So first of all, I remember my father saying, yes, I would support affordable housing. My father developed affordable housing for 40 years in Northern California and around the country. And when I was going to law school, I remember him saying, you know, learn how to develop affordable housing because that's the hardest type of real estate to develop. So if you can develop that, you can develop any other type of real estate. So, but I think that affordable housing is sometimes used as a catch-all. I think there needs to be housing for everyone in the district. There should be transitional housing, there should be supportive housing, there should be affordable housing and market rate housing that doesn't displace current residents. I think we need somebody who understands real estate and how to use community development tools to create affordable housing that will actually get done. It's one thing to say, I can do it, but it's actually another thing to do to actually execute the project. And so I think that's extremely important, especially for District 7. Like Treva mentioned, you know, we have 4,000 homeless in Oakland and the majority of them, 70%, are Black. And that's something that's literally shameful. When I was working in the schools, I had a little girl, 10 years old, come up to me and said she wanted to talk. Tell them, come talk to me when you're upset. She says, nobody likes me because her best friend just moved away. It was her third best friend in 3 years that had moved away because they couldn't afford to live in Oakland. And we have to work on solutions that help ourselves right now, the homeless right now, but also the next generation. So it takes real solutions and a long-term vision to do these types of projects. And I think we have to get started and do them now.
Thank you. Back to, are you aware that there is a group of Black businessmen working to invest in bringing a Black-owned NFL team to Oakland? Would you be willing to work with Oakland East Bay Democratic Club to bring a Black-owned NFL team to Oakland? And will you be, when elected, willing to lease the Coliseum property to that Black-owned NFL team at a reasonable value? Marcy?
My answer is definitely yes. Certainly with this current national moment that we're in, I think it would be absolutely important to be able to support the team coming, an African-American team coming to, and owners coming to the Bay Area. I believe that, so my answer is just yes, I would absolutely work with that. But I also believe that people make the city, and the people that live in the city make the city. In District 7 and certainly District 6 as well, people of color need to see people who look like them who own franchises and other businesses. So I would definitely support that without question. Common people, we've got to consider common people and their needs. Jobs for people that don't have a college degree. Not everybody is able to attend Stanford or Cal or, you know, Columbia. So we need people that can make a living wage who are not college, who are not college bound, and who may have not attended college. So that's important for me as well. We also need to look at the American dream. People should be able to access the American dream regardless of education, from whatever family that they're from. It should not be accounted to an individual to excel in the United States, certainly in the city of Oakland, where we know where the Panthers were proponents of education and pulling people up so that they can do more for their communities. So the American dream and reaching the American dream is very important. And I believe certainly with an NFL team that can bring in more African-American and people of color, brown people, to come into the city. And hopefully we have a council that can support small businesses and getting on board with larger businesses, helping to support and construct a kind of community that uplifts us all.
Okay, Treva? Oh, Treva's on mute, Pam.
All right, you got me there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Absolutely. I think it'll be an exciting opportunity to work with you as well as all the community stakeholders to bring that vision forward. It will be a community economic engine that I think can motivate and revitalize our community, entrepreneurship, partnership in ways that we've not yet experienced. I have family friends that have not had the opportunity for NFL opportunity, but they were able to buy into the Cincinnati Reds, and seeing what that opportunity for ownership, connections within that network, and life impacting other business outcomes that have come for them, and how they've extended and leveraged the support and the relationship as owners in that community. I can get the vision easily for us here in Oakland, and would love to be a part of bringing that together. I have to take a pause and say that today is Black Women's Pay Equity Day. And as we're talking about Black people and equitable opportunities, this is the day that Black women began to first get paid what white men have been paid all last year. So today is the day that we only making 62 cents on a dollar to white men. We know that there are pay equity gaps, there are entrepreneurial equity gaps, there are educational gaps, and this is an opportunity to bring light and bring opportunity to community members who have long been disproportionately impacted. Black men make on average $200 to $300 less a week than white men. This is an opportunity to leverage for the benefit of the Black community members who have faced systemic and structural racism all the days of our lives here, to begin to come back into a level playing field. I'm working with the Black Cultural Zone, with the BWAPA, on a number of initiatives, one including a $100 million community nonprofit grant fund that can be targeted to the Black community and other communities of color, with common application for individuals, businesses, artists, and entrepreneurs. I've shared this with at least one of you on this live stream before, that I believe it's time to bring a Black-owned bank back to Oakland, that we need that level of resilience in economic empowerment and economic development and outcomes back for our community, and for that to be a stream of economic empowerment for other communities of color, like our Latinx communities. Latino women, their equity payday is farther behind ours. Their day is October 29th. And so this district is predominantly made up of Black and brown residents, and we have to do more to leverage every opportunity we can to sit at the table and negotiate community benefits that benefit us in first. I've done it on the Oakland Army Base project, sitting at the table for California Waste Solutions. I led the exclusive negotiating agreement for that company. So when we talk about experience, I've had an opportunity to experience that with city and community and company.
Okay, Aaron, Clay? Oh, Aaron's on mute. Pam.
Okay, great. So absolutely, I would support a Black-owned NFL team to the city of Oakland. I think, you know, we've shown that, you know, our strength and our loyalty to sports here in Oakland. We've shown that we're champions, and we deserve that here in Oakland. And a lease makes a lot of sense. I don't understand why it's not done in more cases, because the value is in the land. So instead of giving away the land like is currently being proposed for the A's, we ought to be doing long-term leases for a stadium if that's the way to go to keep or to attract a sports team to Oakland. It's East Oakland has a lot of real estate issues that are complex, and we really need to be smart and do smart growth about how we develop our land here in Oakland. You know, there are opportunity zones. There's a new community development tool, and that's one of the new tools that actually doesn't have a community benefit side. So that means outside spectators can come in and buy up land and get all these tax benefits without having to show any kind of community benefits. So we have to make sure we know how these tools work and how they're used, and we have to control the development that occurs in District 7. Because if we don't, we're just going to see thousands and thousands more of Black people to be displaced and have to move outside of Oakland, and we will lose our heritage that has traditionally been Oakland. We have to have somebody in District 7 who was going to protect our culture and our heritage and the residents who are currently here instead of the ones that are other people are trying to bring in. We need to develop our city for current residents, not for the ones we're trying to attract. And I think that can be done.
Okay. Robert Jackson?
Yes, thank you. Well, I do support that NFL team coming in. I think Robert Smith is the African-American man who's proposing a Black NFL team. But I want to remind everybody that it's the current council that's fired. They actually filed a lawsuit against the NFL. So we'd have something to go through trying to convince them to bring that team here. That would be one thing that I would work on, trying to bring some kind of peace, because I would like to show them that we had such support for the Raiders, and a lot of that support left off when the Raiders left. I think we can channel that support for this NFL team coming in, and we'll have a team just as good as the Raiders, supported by Oakland. And I just think we can turn that Coliseum into a great place where the A's are playing, and this new NFL team would be playing, and we'll have it. And then the surrounding areas could be developed more with businesses and everything. And we can make that a great place, and a great place for entertainment, a great place for the sports, a great place for jobs and housing and everything else that we're talking about building. So I support it 100%, and I look forward to seeing that happen in the very near future.
Okay. Next question. Where do you stand on the city's agreement with the A's access to the Coliseum property, on the A's staying in East Oakland and building their new stadium at the Coliseum? Marcy? March, yeah, unmute if you can.
Yes. As I noted before, that I definitely would prefer, and I believe that District 7 and District 6, we prefer seeing the A's stay here in the area. Again, as Pastor Jackson noted, is that having potentially the NFL, the African-American NFL team come along with the A's, we can work to develop the area in a way that is beneficial to the community. And so leasing, again, is important, and not selling the land. That's important. Developing these areas in District 7 is vital to the community and vital to those who are living here and who desire a living wage. So yes, I would support keeping them here in this area. District 7 has been overlooked for too long. We need development. We need jobs. We need economic stimulus here, and people want it. They've been designed for it. And so I would definitely support anything that is going to help uplift District 7 as well as District 6.
Okay. Treva? Oh, Treva's on mute.
Yes, I sat in a number of those community discussions with the hope and the input from my table and just publicly that the Oakland A's would remain in East Oakland with the Coliseum as their primary site for development, and it being a separate deal from anything else that will be developed. That site has been cleared for an EIR, as I stated. It's within miles of multiple transit opportunities. It's an opportunity to develop, as we've talked about, more deeply affordable and transit-oriented housing, developing a walkable community around the Coliseum. We see that in other areas of the city, and we want that type of community that we can live in, that we can thrive in, that we can grow in. I believe that that plan should have specific community goals aimed to attract, reinvest, and retain businesses with economic development that provides, as I shared, good living wage, family sustaining jobs and career paths for East Oakland residents, and ensuring that that development, whatever it is, comes with no displacement of residents. I think this is an incredible area for us to build up from the east to the west, a more vibrant and thriving Oakland. We want to see that same measure of equitable investment. We want to see that excitement around cranes and housing development and retail stores and entertainment access and ability to ride your bike and walk to places within our community for families to grow and thrive. I mentioned a farm. I would love to see a community farm that we own, that community members own, that we can see production, we can see manufacturing, we can see distribution, and we can see dollars that come back into our community. And we can see those dollars cycle from one generation to the next and put some products from East Oakland on a more broader scale. So absolutely, I hope that as these negotiations end with the county, the first week of October, that we can have more transparency in that process for the city of Oakland with community at the table, ensuring that the public is heard.
Aaron, unmute yourself.
Thank you. So I do believe that the A's should, one, stay in Oakland, but that they should build their stadium in East Oakland on the Coliseum site. As the previous candidates have said, it's the only thing that really makes sense. The EIR is complete. We have all the transportation that's necessary, and that's not the same. We can't say that for the Howard Terminal site, which I personally believe is going to take a lot longer to develop than most people are saying. We know the current city supported a fast tracking legislation of EIR for the Howard Terminal, which is not very transparent because that site has so many environmental issues and it's going to take years to clean it up in a way that it will be healthy and suitable for commercial and consumer use. The other thing about having the stadium in East Oakland and not in West Oakland at the Howard Terminal site is that the port is a very important asset for the city of Oakland. And what we're doing is we're minimizing the ability of the port to do what it was created for, which was ship commercial goods. You can't straddle the fence and have a port and have it a commercial port on one side, but also try to make it consumer friendly because they're diesel trucks. You have to change the infrastructure. You have to do a lot. Instead of limiting the port's ability to bring in money from the Pacific Rim, we need to make sure that it's able to do what it needs to do and put the A's site at the Coliseum site where it makes all the sense in the world. Along with that, we can do mixed-use development. We need a pipeline of job training for our youth here that helps the public safety issues. One of the things I see in teaching is that the youth feel like they don't have opportunities. They don't have the ability to know, they don't have a plan. They feel like they get put out of Castlemont after they finish, and then the ones who aren't going to college don't have a suitable plan of what to do next. Everybody's not going to college. We need to bring in jobs and a pipeline of job training programs to the tech industry that's right up the street from us. East Oakland is really the only community in Northern California not really benefiting as we should from the tech environment, and we need to change that.
Thank you. Bob Jackson, unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yes, I'd just like to say that I don't want to see the A's move down to Howard Terminal, first of all, because it would impact the waterfront. It will impact the IWU, the longshoremen, and a lot of other great businesses that are operating down there. The unions have been strong, and the port down there is so necessary and vital to the success of the city of Oakland economically. They've been like a backbone for the city. And I just believe that the Oakland, can you hear me? I'm sorry, something happened.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I just believe that the infrastructure is already there at the Coliseum. So it would be so simple to work from that infrastructure that's already in place, that's already served a football team, a basketball team, baseball team, and we could develop it even more because the city owns the property that's around the Coliseum. And so all of that working together, we could build. And of course, I would like to say this, we would like to have the input from the community because I don't think we've had a voice in any of the things that's been happening in District 7 for the past, I don't know how many years. When we look around, things are already done. We didn't have a chance to come to the table. We didn't have a chance. We weren't even invited. And the information that comes from City Hall concerning District 7 and the future of District 7, we don't get until a minute or two, or a day or so before it's time to vote or it's time to be in effect. And I think that should change. And as city councilman for District 7, I promise to have information out in a timely manner where we can go down to City Hall and do like everybody else do, holler and scream until we get what we want, just like the rest of the districts are doing in the city of Oakland. But as far as, again, the move, I'm against the move. I wish we could stay there. I know we could do a better job than what we've been doing if we could just have that person, fighter, to go in there and do the job. And I just believe that I'm that guy.
Okay, Marshawn?
So let me start off with saying why the Howard Terminal is not the right spot for the A's. And we all know Howard Terminal is one of the most polluted lands in Oakland. This is also one of the biggest ports in the world. We do not want to disrupt commerce, in which by putting a stadium there, we will. Howard Terminal don't have a lack of infrastructure. We have to build roads. They have built what they talking about, a little tram or ferry system to get you from the mainland to the stadium. That's millions of dollars.
I think,
Did I do that?
no, I
On
think,
top of the years it'll take to clear this land for development. Hello?
yeah,
You guys hear
you're
me?
back. You had frozen.
Let me cut off my camera real quick. I'm having some connectivity troubles. Could you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. So let me tell you why the current location is the right spot. I remember walking to the A's games as a youth when I stayed on 82nd and Plymouth Street. I remember watching the fireworks from the Hagenberger ramp at the Coliseum. I remember this area giving us something to do as a youth when it comes to the Century, Malibu, Camelot. I remember this area being so vibrant. We need to make sure this area remain vibrant and put the A's and keep the A's right where they're at and build up this area. This area is prime real estate and it's prime jobs creation. We need to make sure we create these jobs here and give people who don't have interest in attending college. You know, like people said, college is not for everyone. And I understand that, even though I have several degrees. We need to create trade opportunities, internship, apprenticeship, externships. We need to make sure people have different avenues to make a livable career, livable wages to sustain their family and their lifestyle. This area is the area to do that. We need to put a plan together for the A's to make sure they understand that and convince them to stay in this area. And when it comes to bringing in another football team to help support this area, I understand the business of sports. I understand the NFL. I understand baseball. I would be the right person to negotiate these deals as the Oakland City Council member for District 7. We need to make sure we do bring the community to the table so a voice will be heard and acted upon. One problem
Thank you.
is, thank you.
Thank you. Pam, can we have a time check? We have 2 more questions.
Sure. I see it's 8:24. I would think we have, why don't you go with one more question and then do the closing.
Okay. So the next question, are you aware that the A's bring in only $3 million of revenue to Oakland? Based on their track record of community investment, do you believe that the A's will bring in more income to the city? And if so, what is your basis for this belief? And Treva, you would answer that one first.
Yeah, that's hard to believe that that's all that they bring in. If that's what's on the books, that's what's on the books. I definitely think that as the A's stay and remain rooted, that there are opportunities for them to increase their revenue generation, to increase their presence, and to build around the A's to create more economic development that brings that type of vitality that you see more businesses growing, more people spending money and contributing back into the economy. I think the A's could be a part of direct and indirect revenue generation in the Hagenberger Coliseum corridor. They certainly can help to generate increased sales tax and revenue back into the city. In building, there are permit fees that we can benefit from. There are property taxes that we can benefit from. I know the company that I work with, we generate a lot of support into the company, and I think it's finding more creative ways for the A's to be a more viable and successful business so that they earn more and they can give back more, and they can partner with organizations like OEBDC, East Oakland Youth Development Center, where I serve on the board, and invest more into our children, into youth outcomes, into youth programs and jobs and stipends and scholarships that help to bring about the vitality and the long-standing support that we need.
Thank you. Aaron? Aaron? Is Aaron? Oh,
Can you hear me?
we'll move on.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, is this Aaron?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so you said 3 million, was that the number? I find that.
That's what it was said. That's what was said on the question, that, are you aware there's $3 million in revenue to Oakland?
So
and based on community investment and track record, do you think that they'll bring more to the city, and why do you believe that?
Okay. So I do find that hard to believe, but I think what people need to understand is that a sports team brings many types of benefits, and they're not all financial. But on the financial side, it provides a lot of the jobs, even the part-time jobs, where people can make that disposable income and take it and they use it to support our local businesses. And that's one of the things we need, is we need a local economic tax basis. We have a lot of small businesses in East Oakland, and many of them, a lot of them due to COVID, a lot of them due to the construction on East 14th, we're not getting the support they need. And I just read a stat where over 50% of Black businesses, small Black businesses, are going out of business because of those two factors. So while I don't know about that number, we do need to figure out how do we leverage what the A's bring to the city of Oakland for our small businesses, for our residents. And so that means creating sustainable, smart growth development that has community input and community benefits, and not community benefits like we give away the store and then come back begging for benefits, but that it's community centered, where we control how development is made and created so that it benefits us because we're the ones that are controlling it. And I think that's extremely important to do.
Thank you. Bob Jackson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hello?
You may go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I think $3 million, I think that's a shame. As a matter of fact, I think that's just the rent they pay to use the Coliseum. Is that right? I've seen some projections where they had said that the A's are going to bring in $730 million to the city and all of that. I don't see how they're going to do that when they're only bringing in $3 million now. I mean, what are they going to do so spectacular that they haven't been doing already at the Coliseum? I just think that, you know, we've been bamboozled by what they're promising and what they're saying, and it's not a reality at all. I think the disruption, again, of Howard Terminal and the waterfront and the unions that's disruptive, and those blue collar jobs that we have down there for a long time, the transportation all messed up, the gondolas going over 880, and all the things they talked about is so far-fetched. I'm telling you, it's like rocket land or something. But I think reality says that the best usage of the Coliseum properties is to keep it the way it is, keep the parks there, keep businesses, building it up. And I think, as was said already earlier, when you get off the airport, when you get out of that airport and come out, we ought to see something really nice and beautiful. And the Coliseum could make that happen. And it's all in District 7. But I tell you another thing, as city councilman, I'm going to need the residents of District 7 to come down to City Hall, and for us, again, to clamor and raise our voices, saying the things that we want, and stop letting the people downtown, stop letting the city council people make decisions for us when we need to be at the table making decisions for ourselves. This impacts us. It impacts our lives. We live in District 7, and we care about what's going on with District 7. I think it's just time out for letting other people make decisions for us It's time for District 7 to rise up, make our own decisions, and then stand by the decisions that we need to do to make our city better. We know what we need to do. We just need to be given the same opportunity as the rest of the districts have, with the same resources, the same taxes that everybody else pay in this city. And I think, again, we've been just denied the rights that come to us. We've had taxation without representation, and it's time for us to move forward. And if we can move together as District 7, as a collective group, I think we could get more done. We just went on record to get $28.2 million for the cultural zone, for the aquaponics that they're doing, and this affordable housing we're trying to get. And there was no big thing made about that, but we are getting money to build and to do affordable housing and all we talk about.
Thank
I'm sorry,
you.
I couldn't, oh, it was on me.
Oh, thank you. That's the time.
Thank you.
Okay. Marshawn?
Organization as big as the Oakland A's to only bring in $3 million in revenue is pure criminal. One of the first moves I do is create transparency and have somebody take a look at those books. We need to make sure that when we do deal with anybody, even outside the A's, that they have community benefits in mind and community purpose that'll serve our purpose and not their purpose. We need to control our own destiny when it comes to this and force people to do it our way or do it the highway. And that's the A's included. Look, I'm a sports person. I don't want to see them go. But I don't want to see the A's continuously taking advantage of us and making us bronk the bill for a lot of the stuff that they do and the cash that they generate, which is not right. And it's putting more stress on the taxpayers in the city. We need to make sure that the A's have a solid plan in place that's going to that will benefit the community, and make sure that any decisions being made, the community will be the first in mind with community focus. And that's my take on that. I don't need to hold 2 minutes to say just that, because I believe that the A's need to focus on community, and they need to bring in more than $3 million, especially when you're dealing with $1 billion family. It's criminal, and we need to have somebody take a look at those books. Thank you.
Okay. Marcy?
I would say that we definitely need to look at enhancing the revenue that the A's brings into the city, as well as looking at the A's being just a centerpiece so that we can kind of reimagine how the area can look. Redevelopment, affordable housing, all of that is going to be important in terms of looking at things differently. And, you know, I like what many people have said. As a resident of East Oakland all of my life, it just feels that people come into the city and they just bleed the city dry, and the residents are left with a higher property tax, higher sales tax to offset, you know, billion-dollar companies, families who are enriching themselves off of Oaklanders. And that has to stop. So it's time for us to, you know, shift the dynamics and the polarity and create a dynamic where people understand when you come to Oakland, you've got to give something. When I was a reporter in the Tri-Valley area, when they were building those areas up in San Ramon and Pleasanton, it was common that if you came and built homes, you had to build the school. You had to develop their roles. You just could not come in and reap the wealth off of increasing a housing development, but you had to give something back. And that's the kind of mentality that our leaders have to have. Our leaders have to be ready to either get kicked out of office for fighting for Oakland. We need people who stand with ethics and values and are going to give back to the city, and who desire to see the common man, from the common man and up, prosper in the city of Oakland. And so we've got to change the dynamics. And that's where I would start, is by fighting for those who are voting for me, and for the residents of District 7, and for the city of Oakland.
Thank you. So all the candidates will have an opportunity to do a 1-minute close, followed by the close. Our closer, Kitty Epstein, will have final words and any other additional follow-up questions that you may want to ask. So with that, we'll go in the reverse order than we started from the beginning. So Treva, you're first for the closing comments. 1 minute. And unmute yourself if you
Thank you
can.
for the time that you've given me to share more about myself and to hear the matters that are important to you. I believe engaging with community to advocate for equitable outcomes that empower Oaklanders, small businesses to thrive as well, to help strengthen community benefit, local hire goals, apprentice programs that ensure equitable access, investment, resources, transparent outreach programs to partner with our schools and organizations to help raise a workforce that's skilled and ready for all the opportunities that we're talking about is important. Beyond the passion that I've shared, I have the leadership skills and policy experience necessary to protect and prioritize the needs of our residents, our small businesses who've experienced a lot of poverty, too many disparities and cycles of inequity. As a senior field representative for then Assembly member and now State Senator Nancy Skinner, I advocated for workers' rights and protections, for housing policies, for gun violence prevention, for job training programs. I've given great charitable giving through my own corporate partnership. I've worked on legislation for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated individuals that benefited East Oaklanders. I'll exercise the wisdom that I've gained in managing multi-million-dollar budgets and revenue streams to help us get through these more challenging times. East Oakland needs a passionate, strong leader to fight for us at City Hall, to work to deliver solutions, and I'm that leader. And as tough as this moment is for us, I'm not afraid. And so I hope that you will stand with me, like Cheryl Walton here, and Mary Forte, and Pastor Dr. Mayberry, elected officials,
Thank you.
Oakland Fire, and help me move East Oakland forward. Thank you.
Next, Marcy.
Thank you so much again for this open door, and it would be a great pleasure and an honor to receive your endorsement for Oakland City Council District 7. My name is Marcy Hodge. I should say Dr. Marcy Hodge, and my proven record and education provide me with the expertise I need to lead Oakland into a better tomorrow. My unwavering belief that our city can realize its potential has propelled me to seek the office of City Council. Together, we can rebuild Oakland brick by brick, citizen by citizen, community by community, and neighborhood by neighborhood. I have sat on the City of Oakland's Budget and Finance Committee. I have also, I currently sit on the Alameda County Development Disability Council. I have in the past sat on the Board Student Services and Equity Committee. And I currently also sit on the East Bay Developmental Disabilities Legislative Coalition. Serving my community is my passion. It is my life. It is what I have been taught. Oakland has given much to me, and I want to give back to her. We need someone who's going to fight, who is not committed to being on the city council forever. We need someone who is ready to come in strong, fight, and leave. And let the younger generation come in behind us and lead Oakland forward and ensure that we maintain a strong constitution so that the common man, I can't emphasize that, the common man is heard.
Thank you. Marshawn.
Thank you, Oakland East Bay Democratic Club and everybody else who joined this call. I hope to win your endorsement. I hope to work with you guys for years to come, because Oakland has a lot of issue and it's going to take a community effort to get past these. We need to establish a community-based budget process. We need to make sure we can support our dreams and future financially by creating equitable economic development. We need to open up investment opportunities for the citizens of Oakland, and we need to invest in the citizens of Oakland in entrepreneurship to help increase our small business. But we're at a crossroads. Not only are we being tested physically, but we're also being tested mentally and spiritually. Now we must come together, and as one, we can move beyond this point, and I'm very optimistic we can do this. I hope that I can win you guys' endorsement. I have years of experience in the community, and I've been proven to show you guys that I can do and have what it takes to move things forward. That's why we need to move D7 onward, away from this direction we've been in for the past 20 years, because it's not working. And we need to make sure that we focus on our next generation of leaders who are
Thank
doing
you.
it than us. Thank you.
Robert Bob Jackson.
Yes, thank you. I would like to say that in my tenure as the city council person for District 7, I would like to bring the Hill area and the Flat area together, and we would speak as one voice for District 7. We would show up down at City Hall, and again, we would make our petitions known, and we will let people know that we're out here and we deserve every benefit, every opportunity that every other district has. I also would like to say, I want to put trust back in City Hall, trust back in leadership for District 7. I believe I'm the candidate you can trust to get it done. I have a track record I'm running on for things I've already done and not things that I promised to do. So I believe that together we can make a bigger footprint in this city. District 7 could be the vibrant, great district that I know it to be. And I just believe, God, that as we work together, we can have a better District 7 and a better opportunity for everybody who lives in the district.
Aaron Clay.
Yes, thank you, Oakland, East Oakland, East Bay Democratic Club for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate it. So the first thing, so when I walk and drive and work and volunteer in East Oakland, it's what I see. I see people just trying to survive. I see people trying to survive in tents. I see people trying to survive in cars, at schools, just walking around, standing around, hoping they can find a job. We have to do better. We really kind of ought to be ashamed of ourselves the way we have not developed East Oakland for the benefit of our current people. At some point in time, we have to stop talking about it and be about it. And so that's what I say when I say we need somebody with vision, experience, and courage. I have vision. I've done these types of projects to revitalize communities. I know the technical background, how to do the financing, and how to put together a team of private-public partnerships and tax credit financing to do that. I have the experience to do that. I've been working as an attorney, working for the community. We are sitting right now on a foreclosure and eviction cliff. Once these the laws that stop the foreclosures and modifications. Thank you very much.
And that is our wrap up and our final words from our candidates. Thank you all for your time and your commitment. And we will have Kitty Epstein do the final close. Thank you.
We want to thank you so much, candidates, for being with us, for the really interesting, innovative ideas you have, and the great passion that you have brought to these really important issues that are facing our city. It's clear from your presentations that you really care, as well as having ideas and thoughts and analysis, that you really care about the issues. We don't have final closing questions, but I also want to thank our participants who are many, over 100. I don't know exactly how many. That's really exciting. And also to urge the candidates to work with the East Bay Democratic Club now, not just after the election, because a lot of these issues we're discussing need work now. So we hope that you'll be working with people immediately as well. Thank you.
Can I just add, as the secretary, first the membership chair for the club, if you are not a member of the Oakland East Bay Democratic Club, we invite you to become a member. And if you agree with the views of these candidates that you are opposed to the sale of the Coliseum, we urge you to call Nate Miley at the county and Larry Reed and Lauren Taylor at the city and let them know how you feel about this issue, because there is limited transparency, and until they hear from us, they will continue to operate in closed rooms, in back rooms, and making deals that the community does not agree with. So Nate Miley and Larry Reed and Lauren Taylor need to hear from you, as well as Rebecca Kaplan, our at-large representative. So thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
and this will be,
all.
it'll be aired later on Facebook Live if you want to check it out. And we urge you, it'll also be on our website, and that's OaklandEastBayDemocraticClub.com. Thank you.
Pam, thank you for speaking truth to power.
Okay,
God bless
always.
your heart.
Right. And
Thank you, everybody.
the number actually exceeded 100 because you had the Facebook Live going with a whole nother audience. So
Yes. it's true.
congratulations.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Shonda. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Andrea. And thank you, Kitty. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.